All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Joel, and I'm a co-founder of Reebox. And today, I'm going to give you some thoughts on the role of off-chain data in DAOs. If this monitor keeps working. All right. So I'm going to start with a little bit of a personal story. So when I grew up, I got into computers pretty early. And I'm not sure why this is weird. Let's hope it works. So I got into computers pretty early, and when we got internet and I got online, I got involved in a bunch of communities, and you started contributing to these communities. And when I was around 10 years old, my parents got divorced, and one of the problems that came with that was that I had a computer at my dad's place and a computer at my mom's place, and these didn't have the same software, and I couldn't keep working on the projects I was working on when I got to the other place. So I was trying to figure out how to solve that, and ended up finding this software that allowed me to kind of bring a custom start menu to Windows and have all of the programs that I needed, and bring all of the data with me along way to whichever computer I got to. And that was pretty neat. And that also eventually led me down the road of open software or open source. But yeah, that really was the first insight to me about data portability. Let me try a different port. All right, let me know if that shuts off again. So why do we need portable data? Actually, let me try a different connector if it breaks again. Yeah, I think so. Let's see. So portable data. Why we want portable data is that we basically don't want to be locked into a particular. Yeah, I'm gonna try this instead and see if it makes a difference.
Yeah, sure. Some technical issues. There's some processing issues with yeah, I hope this will work. Sorry.
Yeah, let's see. All right, and I also see portable data as being this relationship with portable applications and kind of bringing your workspace with you. So kind of what I did with bringing all of my software with me. And I think the ability for people to bring their own data to their everywhere allows them to be more sovereign. Because when you do things, you often look back at previous work that you've done and kind of iterate on that or base new things on that. So how does this relate to DAOs and collaborative networks and all of that? Well, I think decision making that we're doing in DAOs is inherently a social process, and in order to get that social process going, we need to make DAOs the kind of meeting points of our communities, and not have our communities meet at one place and then go to the DAO to vote. And also one thing we've noticed when building Reebox is the contextual reputation really matters. So basically the ability to see the different people that you're interacting with and the members of the DAO to like get like a visual representation of like who they are is really important to like build trust in the community. And to do all of this, I think we need data portability. So in order to like go deeper into this, I'm gonna make the distinction of on-chain and off-chain data. On-chain data is basically anything that's accessible to the execution environment of a blockchain. And that data might be verified in some way, or it might just be random data that someone just put on the blockchain. And off-chain data is basically all of the other data. So that could be like user control data, or it could be data that's controlled by a company. And that data could be verified or maybe not verified. So I think there are like 3 phases of off-chain data, basically. And the first thing is just like analog data, like data that exists in the physical world. So that could be like the color of this rainbow thing, and like the number of air molecules in the air. And we don't really have that, it just like exists. And digitized data is just like taking that, so I know that that's blue, and I can put that into computer. And also like, so that's basically user input or like some sensor input, or like insights computations run on the user input. And then finally, the last phase of off-chain data is signed data. So basically, me as an individual have a key, or an organization has a key, sign the data to like make you able to verify that you can see that I've signed, and like actually make a claim that that thing is blue. So how do we use data in DAOs? So the first thing is like voting, and voting on financial and non-financial proposals. It's pretty straightforward, and that's like an on-chain data. We can also like probably make automated actions based on activities in other smart contracts. And I'm sure there's like a few other things that DAOs use on-chain data for. But what can and what could DAOs use off-chain data for? Well, I think it's really important for me as like a member of a DAO to see who the other members are and like get a sense of their who they are and like what they've done in the past. So like be able to look at their history. And also like I think it's important that we can communicate amongst members. So like sending messages, sending encrypted chats between 2 people. And the last thing is like collaborating on different documents, or like it could be like project roadmaps or any type of other digital artifact. And here I think it's really important that we kind of have this data being signed, because that gives us more guarantees about like what's going on in the off-chain world. So I want to talk a little bit also about implicit reputation. So this is basically having reputation that's not on-chain. So basically reputation that is only exists subjectively in each individual. So we have like a really interesting example of this happened as we were building 3box and like the social profile system. Basically there was this team building a TCR, and there was this one address that kept downvoting a lot of things. So they thought first that this address was just like a malicious actor that just downvoted everything. But when they added like profiles and can actually see that like a contextual visual representation, they quickly saw that, oh, but this actor is also actually upvoting some things, and they saw that yeah, it's probably not like a malicious person. So that's kind of what I mean by implicit or soft reputation. And I think we can extend that. I think we can extend it to like look at a lot more history of like the interactions of individuals. And we should aggregate data across like multiple DAOs and multiple blockchains to like get a more solid view of like what a person has done in the past. And we could also create algorithms that create like a score, and that could also be like completely off-chain and based on the values of the DAO. And we don't need to like have all of these things to do reputation on-chain, because that has value, but like the social implicit reputation is also really powerful. Another thing where I think off-chain data could be like really useful to DAOs is basically helping new collaborators on board. And it could be like when you come to DAO, you can basically enter, and the DAO could give you recommendations based on your previous experience for like what tasks you can solve, or which work streams you should be integrated in, or like which people you should talk to like help the DAO with whatever project the DAO is doing. And we can also like give new members familiar experiences. So maybe in the DAO we could actually have the tools that like the user can bring the tools that they use to whatever they're doing, and like give the familiarity with like bringing in like their profiles or their the other data from other applications. And finally, we can like surface information as they like interact in the DAO and with the other users. Surface like information that's relevant to the user and relevant to the values of the DAO. And all of this like requires a lot of like data to like compute these insights, and it needs to happen off-chain. All right. So at 3box, we're building something called the 380, and this is basically a data identity that we created, and basically allows you to connect to all of your data across multiple blockchains. So it's a decentralized identifier, which is a W3C standard. You can use it to sign and to encrypt data. And yeah, it's blockchain agnostic, based on IPFS. And we can link Ethereum addresses to this 380, and we could potentially also link other blockchain systems addresses to this 380. So you can get like a common data identity across all of the blockchains. And so we use this 380 in our 3box SDK, and all of the updates you make to your off-chain data is stored in a distributed database, and all of your updates are signed and verifiable by your by anyone that's looking at it can see that you have actually created this data. So this SDK allows you to store data with the users, send messages between users, and it stores data locally and backs it up to the 3box network, and basically allows developers to build dApps without thinking about a backend. So if you want to learn more about this, check out these links, and thank you so much for listening.